Hello and welcome to this episode of the Spiced In Podcast. My name is Jacob and I'm your host. Today we will be talking about the newest chapter of The Mandalorian, The Tragedy. But before we do that, we have some news to talk about, and a lot of our news, all of our news actually, is centered around the High Republic. So it was announced this week that we will be getting a new adult novel in 2021. It's The Rising Storm by Cavan Scott. Cavan, of course, is going to be the writer on the main comic book line for Marvel, at least at the beginning. And it will be released June 6th, 2021. The cover features the new council member, Stellan Gios, the Padawan Bell Zettifar, and mercenary Ty York. So York is the only new character here. And she's described as a saber for hire who has a past as a monster hunter. So not a Jedi, but still wielding a lightsaber. Sounds quite interesting. You know, we don't have any Sith that we know about in this era, although, you know, there's obviously two somewhere hidden in the galaxy. But it's interesting that we're having some more, unaffiliated, I would say, lightsaber force wielders in the galaxy. That'll come out June 6, 2021, which lines up with what we knew, that we were going to get a new wave of books in the summer. So expect there to be a young adult and junior reader novel probably announced pretty soon, that will also come out within, I would say, the same month, similar to Wave 1 of the High Republic. The next big news is The Light of the Jedi is getting a collector's edition, so this will be coming from Out of Print, who just did the Thrawn Chaos Rising collector's edition, although this will be much, much cheaper at just a $50 price tag. As far as numbering goes, I don't think they're going to be individually numbered, and Del Rey said on Twitter that it's going to be in the neighborhood of the thousands, so, be quick, but it's probably not going to go immediately. So those go on sale actually the day the book is released on January 5th, so that's not, if you're looking just to read it, probably not the first one to pick up because you might not get it for a couple days later. So the $50 price tag gets you a signed copy of the book with a really nice, gatefold cover. So it's beautiful. It features a bunch of Jedi and Nihil, fighting on these silvery space horses. So that's pretty cool. And it also gives you a little High Republic pin and some socks. So there you go. Get some, I have a handful of Star Wars socks, and it'd be nice to add to that collection. So that is all we have for our news. If you want to know more about the High Republic, I'm just going to sneak this plug in here. I started a YouTube series called Live from the Beacon, which does a lot more in-depth breakdown of High Republic news and just the story and everything involved in that. Go check that out. I'll probably be breaking down some of this stuff more in depth on there. And my first episode was about all of the connections in the Star Wars universe to the High Republic. So there you go. That's all of our news for this week. With that said, we're going to hop into The Mandalorian Chapter 14, The Tragedy. So, with just my non-spoiler, very quick impression, this was an okay episode. I don't think it was my favorite. It was way more action-oriented, which is it's enjoyable to watch, but there's just so little, comparatively to glean from the episode. Normally when I'm taking my notes for these, I'm pausing all the time, taking notes, looking things up, making sure to get a bunch of reference down, but this one, I didn't pause, on my second watch, I didn't pause it at all. I just kind of was stream of conscious, just typing it all out, because really there's not much, I can't say there's not much of consequence that happens, because there is, but there's not anything, it's mostly, it's 95% a fight scene, so, yeah. But anyways, it's still enjoyable, nonetheless. That we're going to get into spoilers, so if you have not watched the episode, please pause and come back after you've watched Chapter 14. But spoilers starting now, with a very quick plot rundown, which will take me about 30 seconds, if that. They go to Tython, he puts Baby Yoda on the stone, he goes into some trance, trying to communicate with the Force. Boba Fett and Fennec Shand show up, and they're like, give me my armor back, and if you do, we'll make sure the child's safe. Then the Imperials show up, and there's a big standoff there. Eventually, Gideon sends in some dark troopers that kidnap Baby Yoda, and Fennec Shand and Boba are like, well, we'll help you get your kid back, because we have my armor. but we haven't fulfilled our half of the deal, so we're gonna go get him. And at the end of the episode, Mando goes to get some information from Cara Dune. His plan is to spring Mayfeld, the Bill Burr character from season 1, from prison to find Moff Gideon's ship. So that's it. Super quick, like a pretty. From an overall standpoint, it's a pretty simple episode. What happens? So I'm gonna break it down a little bit more. So I saw Eckhard's Ladder made a video like a couple days before this episode came out. It's like, Tython's in the deep core. He's coming from the outer rim. There aren't many hyperspace routes into the deep core that we know about. Like, this could be a pretty perilous journey. And literally, like, you just start the episode like, all right, he's here. It's like, oh, okay, well, all right. I mean, yeah, like, to be fair to Eck, the video made sense. Everything was like, it's like, oh wow. I mean, he makes a lot of good points. He's gonna have to go through New Republic space, which he's kind of wanted there, and you're gonna have to like get past all the Imperial stuff out in the Outer Rim. Like, this can be an issue. And it's like, nope, he's here. So, yeah. But before they land, Din is playing with Grogu and the knob, and has him like catch it with the Force again. They have like a little heartfelt like goodbye moment. But they land down there, and they have to jetpack up to the summit of this little mountain, and then they place Baby Yoda on the Seeing Stone in the center. It has like a bunch of runes on the outside, and I was like, I like thought I might try and like decipher them, but they are not sharp at all. It's very fuzzy, and the like light that shines out of it's pretty much impossible. I don't think anyone could possibly, like, even like on a 4K TV, I don't think anyone could possibly decipher that. At first, nothing happens, but then Grogu goes into this trance where this beam of light shoots out of the sky, into the sky, where he's interfacing with the Force in this Zen moment. Some people made some comparisons with the aesthetic of this Seeing Stone and like Jedi Fallen Order meditation, and I kind of like that. I definitely can see where they're coming from. I also saw some people comparing it, like, the actual stone itself to the balls on Zepho, which, I mean, it's a stone ball. I see where you're coming from, but I think it's a little bit of a stretch. So as they're doing that, yeah, Slave One comes in, and Mando tries to retrieve Grogu, but can't penetrate that energy field, so he goes down to talk with him. We have a really cool interaction with him and Boba Fett. So Mando goes down there, and we have a really cool interaction with him and Boba Fett. Boba obviously wants his armor back, and Mando is like, "You're not a Mandalorian, no way." And Boba gives him the good old, "I'm just some simple man trying to make my way in the galaxy" line from Attack of the Clones. And we have a standoff because Finnick is trained on Grogu with her sniper, and they agree to kind of just put things down and talk it out. We figure out that Boba rescued Finnick from the sands of the Dune Sea, which we were teased that in the last episode, the Gunslinger episode from last season, as well as the recap at the beginning of this episode, which was pretty like when I saw that at the beginning, it's like, oh, whoa, this is happening right now. But as they are talking it over, a Imperial gunboat shows up with a bunch of stormtroopers, and I don't recognize this ship. It looks like a halfway point between the TIE Reaper, just like without the wings, and like the First Order gunship, that like the troop transport. And so maybe it's kind of like a transitioning point towards that. Mando tries to go retrieve Grogu, but again, still can't get into this energy field and just gets knocked out. Which I feel like he's like stubbornly kind of an idiot in this episode, which I mean isn't really that out of character for him. So Finnick and Boba just start taking out troopers because they have the high ground, bless up. And Boba has a really cool scene fighting with the gaffy stick, the Tusken Raider weapon. And it reminded me a lot of the armor scene in the Forge last season, with like her just beating up stormtroopers with their hammer and just seeing all the like shards of stormtrooper armor fly. It's cool that we did get to see a little variation again, just similar to the Flame Trooper, the Incinerator Trooper last season. We get some like special units. So there was a like artillery mortar trooper, as well as they brought in an E-Web to try and take them down. But to make things short, our heroic or anti-heroic, I guess, duo manage to hold them off, and Boba, in a kind of quieter moment of the battle, looks into the Razor Crest and runs to go get his armor. After that, Finnick has a really cool, like, jumping away, falling shot, and then just starts, like, no-scoping, like, hip-firing people, like, left and right. And a second gunboat drops in, so looks like all this, hard work is about to have to be repeated. And Mando wakes up from his nap and tries to get Grogu again, and it of course doesn't work. He kept saying, like, kid, we have to go, kid. And I thought, like, what was going to happen from a story standpoint was, like, he was going to finally be like, Grogu, let's go. And then, that breaks the trance and they get up and leave. But that would not fulfill what they needed to happen. So he just leaves. And right, of course, for plot reasons, right as he leaves, Grogu gets sleepy and has to take a nap, and the force field drops. So Mando at that point comes in to reinforce Finnick, who's kind of starting to get swarmed, and just blows through a ton of whistling birds for seemingly no reason, and starts to use his body as a shield to protect her. And that's when Boba Fett comes in looking like a badass. And he pretty much uses his entire weapons arsenal to take them all out. So he has his wrist blaster and his actual blaster, and has these knee rockets, and his just going through the whole arsenal. So that was awesome. All the stormtroopers see him and yeah, no, screw that, and they start running back to retreat onto their ships. And Boba uses his back missile to knock one gunboat down, which collides with the other, and they all die. So that's pretty cool. And then suddenly the Razor Crest just gets nuked from space by a turbo laser, gone, just completely gone. Which was, it's so crazy, just all the crap that the Razor Crest has gone through this season, from getting wrecked by spiders to being submerged on Trask, to being fixed up with nets and fishing wire, to finally being in good shape after leaving Navarro, and then it just gets absolutely blasted. So it's gone. Mando looks up and sees the Arquitins, Moff Gideon's little light cruiser, on his scope, and suddenly starts running back to Grogu. And at that point, we see the 4 Dark Troopers get launched from the ship. They go to intercept Grogu, and they do a cool reverse burn, a retrograde burn, as they come into land, kind of looking like the SpaceX Falcon rockets, or the Grasshopper boosters, or whatever they're called. So that looks super sweet. They of course grab Grogu and then take off, and Boba's coming in on Slave One. He's like, I'm gonna get them. I'll make sure the kid's safe, and and the Mando has to tell Finnick to call him off over the comms, which is I don't understand his anyone's thought process. Well, I understand Mando's thought process, but Boba, what is his thought process in this? Is oh look, those 4 giant robots with jetpacks are flying up thousands of feet in the air towards a spaceship with this little squishy baby alien. I know, I will blast them out of the sky with my ship so the kid is safe. What? Why was that ever in consider? What did he ever think he could do there? I don't understand any of that. And of course, this was all made frustrating by the fact that Mando put down his jetpack, when they were just talking before the Imperials got there, and never thought to pick it back up. We need this out of the way, so he needs to take it off and needs to forget about it, because otherwise he would beat the Dark Troopers back there and get Grogu, and we can't have that. So it's just frustrating, but Boba goes up to fly back and follow the troopers to see where they're going, and sees the Arquitins out of the clouds, and tells them that the Empire is back, and goes to fly away as the Arquitins jumps to hyperspace to who knows where. But the next really cool thing is Boba shows Mando his chain code from his armor. After that, we see Mando picking through the ash pile that it was his ship, and he finds, of course, the Beskar spear, but also the little shifter knob that Baby Yoda plays with, which was quite sad. But Boba takes a minute to show Mando his chain code, which is more or less his ID that was embedded in the armor. So a little hologram pops up and talks about how his father was a foundling and fought in the Mandalorian Civil Wars. So Mando accepts that the armor belongs to him. And Boba says, we're going to help you out because our deal's not done. We told you the child was going to be safe, and he's not, so let's go get Grogu. So they go fly to Navarro, and God, Cara Dune is now a legit New Republic marshal. That, like, the little, like, insignia the dude threw down the other episode was actually a badge. And so she's a cop now. So great, cool, whatever. Mando goes through and has her give him Mayfeld's prison location so he can go break him out and track down Moff Gideon since he was a former Imperial sharpshooter. We cut back to Gideon's ship, and Grogu's in a little cell, and he's tossing around stormtroopers like they're like rag dolls with the Force. And he starts choking them out, but he gets too tired and just passes out. And Gideon walks in and shows him the Darksaber, asking Grogu if he's ever seen something like that before. And he's like, "You're not ready to play with it." And he has a stormtrooper stun him with his blaster and cuff him. And he has the security officer, or the communications officer, tell Dr. Pershing that they are here, they're about to drop out of hyperspace, and tell them that he has his donor. So, a decent amount to talk about here. One thing, this is actually kind of more going back to last episode, but I saw a lot of people being like, well, who took Grogu to the temple? Like that was such an important, and I agree, it's important to a certain degree, but like people are going crazy. It's like, oh, maybe it was Mace Windu, or Yoda himself, or the bounty hunters, or he got kidnapped, or the Empire took him, or like, oh, there's so many like just theories thrown around there. It's almost to the point of like ludicrousness. My personal take on it is, we were told that he was sent away from the temple by Ahsoka when things started to get bad. Like, thinking about like the last 2 seasons of Clone Wars, Yoda obviously is like kind of accepted at the point that things are getting bad and it's not gonna probably go well for them. So my personal thought is he had Baby Yoda sent away by like he realizes the stakes and what could potentially happen. The fact that we just don't see that species at all hardly means I would guess that they are very limited in number. So maybe Yoda had some extra motivation to get him out of there, so he maybe sends him off with someone to try and get him out of the temple. And at a certain point, he's either maybe they hired Nikito to protect him, maybe he gets intercepted at some point. But I would imagine that's kind of the basic gist of what happened. I don't think the Empire had him before Mando takes him to the client. Something else I want to talk about is the chain code on Boba's armor. So it's, of course, been decoded because God bless the internet. And we find out that, Jango was a foundling from Conquered Dawn, which was an area in Mandalorian space. Talked a lot about in Rebels. And also that he was taken in by a mentor, Jaster. So Jaster is crazy, referring to Jaster Muriel, who was a Legends character who basically took Jango Fett up. Like, Jango was a refugee, and Jaster led the Mandalorians, and at one point it was like on a mission and finds Jango and takes him up as basically what we now know as a foundling. Which the crazy thing is, like, I to be honest, I didn't know really much about this character until this week. But I was like looking through his Wikipedia page, and there's a comic, he was in a lot of comic book appearances apparently. And there's a panel on his Wikipedia page towards the bottom that like is almost exactly like Mando being rescued in like the flashbacks from season 1. Like I'm shocked that I haven't seen this comparison yet. It's like he comes up, he like grabs a small young Jango, and just like picks him up and walks him out of there as the other Mandalorians take down the bad guys, and you have him like carrying him, and like Jango's looking over his back shoulder. Like, it looks exactly the same, like almost to a T. So yeah, I thought that was sweet. I'll probably tweet that out sometime this weekend, but. Yeah, Jaster's probably canon again, so that's pretty dope. Another thing I want to touch on is where I think Moff Gideon's going. So, we're using Baby Yoda's blood to experiment. We know that Dr. Pershing has ties to Kamino, so it's quite possible that that's where his ship's going. We're going to Kamino. Maybe they have like a hidden lab or something there. And he's going to work on whatever this project is that he has going on, which is also going to make it very interesting if Boba Fett returns to Kamino. He obviously grew up there for a certain amount of time, and that's where he was born, in essence. So I think that could provide for some interesting character moments. It also could just be like another hidden Imperial base somewhere. So, but I think Kamino would be definitely cooler. Another thing to touch on is when we're flashing through the prisoner database towards the end. Of course, again, the internet being the wonderful thing it is, decoded every different person. Not meant like a lot of them are just completely random. It's like Star Wars name. Here's alien picture. It's on this prison planet, and here's a crime. They're doing years for this crime. It is cool though that it looks like all three of the characters that tried to ambush Mando on the way back to Mos Eisley are in prison now, so that's cool. We have a few prisoners that are actually in Sunspot Prison, which was featured in the Star Wars and Darth Vader comic books. Basically, it's a prison that's super close to a sun, so it makes it very hard to escape from. And then, of course, Mayfeld, Miggs Mayfeld is his name, and he's in the Carthon Chop Fields, doing 50 years for facilitating the escape of a fugitive and also like accessory to murder of a New Republic officer. So yeah, that's that. What else is going to happen next? It's hard to tell. I think we're probably gonna be doing some get the gang together kind of action next episode. I've been so wrong with my episode to episode predictions of what's going to come next, but yeah, I would imagine we're gonna do some teaming up with people. Are we gonna bring back the season 1 crew? I mean, maybe we're already on Navarro anyways, and Cara Dune's probably motivated to help the child, but I kind of hope they don't. Bo-Katan is a very, I would be shocked if she doesn't come in because, well, 1, the Darksaber's involved, so she has to come get that. 2, maybe she's gonna probably want revenge on Moff Gideon for sacking Mandalore, so there's that as well. So I would expect her and Axe Woves and Koska Reeves to come back either next episode or the final episode. And then, maybe next episode we'll see Kamino or wherever lab they're going to, and we'll see what exactly they're trying to use Baby Yoda's blood for. Is it going to be, trying to go towards Snoke and Palpatine cloning? Is it something else entirely? There was a theory going around a while that I'm starting to it's pretty out there and pretty ludicrous, but I'm starting to like it a little bit more. That Gideon wants to become Force sensitive and is experimenting on others to see if Baby Yoda's blood will help them before he does it on himself, especially with his great fascination with the Darksaber. So you know what? It's probably not going to happen, but it's fun to think about. So yeah, I think that's all. It was a shorter one this week, but yeah, like I said, it's a pretty straightforward episode. Overall enjoyable though. If you liked what I had to say about it, or if you want to engage with me more about this episode or anything Star Wars, you can find me at Twitter and Instagram at SpicedInPod, or you can go to thespicedin.com where I have a new book review for Myths and Fables. So that was fun. Check that out. And I think I was supposed to talk about that this week, but we can push that again. We'll start next week. I've started reading Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view, and I've been enjoying that so far. But it's a quite large book, so at the rate I'm going, it's going to be a little bit before that comes up. So, anyways, that's all I have to talk about this week. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks to Gramble for providing the music for this episode. And as always, may the Force be with you.